It takes a while to develop a relationship with your intuition, to fully lean into it and to fully trust. Because I can't tell you how many times in my younger years I would literally like, oh my goodness, I knew that that was going to happen, or I knew that I should have, or I received information and I didn't listen. And so you can only do that so many times before you start to say, you know what? Let me just listen and respond and act accordingly based upon my intuitive hit.
You're listening to Biohacking with Brittany. I'm Brittany Ford, holistic nutritionist, wellness expert, and mama. This podcast is your space to explore the science, strategies, and soul of optimizing your health through every stage of life. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to the show. I am thrilled that you're listening, and today we are diving into everything energy, medicine, and really about spiritual embodiment practices, meditation, and a very spiritual wellness focus for this episode. We honestly got into a lot, and my guest is Dr. Mary Sanders, who is a seasoned medical intuitive, a chiropractor, and she has over 2 decades of experience helping individuals achieve holistic transformation. She blends science with spirit and empowers people to cultivate vibrant health, emotional resilience, and a deeper sense of purpose through energy medicine, meditation, and spiritual embodiment practices. So we talk a lot about this integrative approach to healing, and we talk a lot about energy behind different things that can happen, especially in relation to women's health. We kind of go all over the map with this one, but it was really interesting. I talked about a few of my people in my life who've had surgeries actually, and how that kind of changed them and how that changed their energy. I had a friend who had gastric bypass, and so we talked about that. We talked about hysterectomies for women and what does that mean? And then we really got into the chakra system. What are the chakras and how do they actually relate to the health issues, diseases, and chronic health issues that women are having today? That was really interesting. And I've read a couple of books about this before, but it was cool to kind of go back and like look at that again and really think about the health issues that I've had and maybe what misalignment was I having in my chakra system that was actually related to that showing up in that way. Very, very cool. We kind of peel back the layers on that. And I think there's a lot to be said about energy work and how open people are now becoming to this type of work in general and, spiritual wellness as we're calling it. So enjoy this episode. I think this one might make you pause and kind of think and reassess what's going on in your own life. And I always think that there's something to be said about doing that. Before we dive in, a shout out to Bioptimizers. I love their magnesium and I'm using it every single night right now. It's made of all 7 forms of magnesium. So that's really, really important to note. You're getting all of it. This matters because different magnesiums do different things in the body. So if you're dealing with a headache or back pain or stress or sleep issues or you're fatigued, it can actually be stressful to think about, okay, what type of magnesium do I need for these different things? So getting all 7 forms helps a lot and is has you completely covered. You don't have to think, oh, do I need the chelate one or whatever one that you want. So get one with all of them in it. Bioptimizers, magnesium, breakthrough is the best. I have it in the powder form and the capsule. And I just did a deep dive on magnesium the other day on the podcast. So you can go back and listen to that if you want. And you can use my discount code BiohackingBrittany, which will save you 15% off of all products, which is crazy. And I got to shout out, my gosh, guys, my retreat. So Optimize Her is what we're calling it. And this is a Costa Rican women's health retreat. It's been so cool to see how many of you have joined the waitlist. And the doors are opening really soon. We're putting the final touches on the landing page. I have to kind of go through a couple of things because once it opens, there's only 12 spots. I think there's 55 women on the waitlist right now. So if you have a call to be in Costa Rica in March, I might do a second one in April. We'll see what happens. This is for you. This is a place where you get to come and heal and have a break and pause from your life, from your family, from your obligations, from stress, from everything. You get to spend this time on you. On you. It's the deepest self-work, self-care you could ever do is going on a retreat. It's magnified because you are working on yourself and you're healing and you're transforming yourself around the clock. Now, we're not going to be sitting in a circle holding hands and like praying underneath the moon. That's not what it's about. And it's not necessarily about like massages and facials either. It's actually a combination of everything that really facilitates true healing. It's a very holistic approach. But what is really going on here and what it's really about is you and what you're internally struggling with. So we're going to provide a space where you get to actually work through that, which is really beautiful. Okay. It's really, really beautiful. And I'm so excited. And I'm going to reveal more as it comes out. But if you want to join the waitlist, I really suggest you do so. If you want to come in April and you're like, Brittany, I want you to do a second one in April, message me on Instagram right now. Pull out your phone at biohackingbrittany and say, hey, look, timing works better for me in April and you're probably going to sell out in March and I want to come. So can I come in April? And I'll say, okay, I'll do one in April. I'm going to be in Costa Rica anyway. So yeah, I can do it. I would love to see you there. We can connect. And also it would just be so fun to just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know, sit around a table and eat like really healthy, organic farm to table food and talk about biohacking and health optimization and be surrounded by like monkeys in warm air and like just all of the things, it's on a crystal mountain for Pete's sake. Like it's so holistic and healthy and luxury and you deserve this for yourself. Okay. You really do. So I'd love to see you in March. Come join me. We'll hang out. And it includes a consultation with me while you're there, a one-on-one. And we will be doing a like mini kind of a consultation. It's a welcome call once you secure your spot. So stay tuned for that. And that's dropping. It's either this week or next week. So get on the list now. Enjoy this podcast episode and thanks for listening. Today, we are diving into the energetics around healing and health, women's health in particular. And I have Dr. Mary Sanders joining me, and she is a medical intuitive, which is very cool, and a chiropractor. And I cannot wait to kind of just see where this conversation takes us and to chakras and all of the things in relation to that as well. So, Dr. Mary, welcome to the show.
Oh, Brittany, thank you so much. It is my honor to share space with you and all the listeners joining us today. And like you, I am very interested in seeing where this conversation is going to head today. So I will follow you.
Okay. I love that you are a medical intuitive. Like, please, what does that mean? Explain it to me.
Okay. So my job, as I see fit, is to hold an energy frequency that can create coherence, energetic coherence within the physical body and surrounding the physical body, known as the biofield. So I actually went to school for this, okay? So I was raised by two academic parents, so education is a big part of my life. And so I wanted to be formally trained in something that I felt like I had an innate skill or a natural aptitude for. So I attended the Academy of Intuition Medicine, which is located in Sausalito, California. It's a 2.5-year program, and I achieved a Master's of Intuition Medicine degree. And within this time, the instructor, Dr. Francesca McCartney, and her team, they created the space for me to gain awareness and to develop my intuitive senses. So I was born hearing impaired, and so my hearing capacity is 50% what a normal person hears. And so I went through life utilizing all of my traditional five senses and then beyond. And so I have developed extrasensory perception that I utilize in receiving information about the people that I hold sacred space for. So then my job is to sense and say, and the information that I receive is definitely for the other person who's receiving the healing. And it can revolve around physical healings, emotional healings, chemical healings. So that's what a medical intuitive does.
Oh, I love that. That's so interesting. And do you primarily work with women in this space, or you kind of just are open to anybody who is interested in this work?
Well, let's just say that my practice revolves around 90% women, and then the occasional man or male will pop into my field and I work with them as well. But energetically, I have a higher resonance for women. Obviously, with my years of experience, living through this physical 3D dimension, I can relate to women and I better understand what it's like to have inherited or familial trauma that might be attached to the lineage of the female side of the genetic makeup.
Wow. That's very interesting. And I can see why you would attract more women to this. And I honestly think, and you probably agree, maybe, that women tend to be just tapped into their intuition more than men in the first place. So maybe they would seek out somebody who's a medical intuitive because they feel like they can kind of access that part of themselves maybe easier than men can.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. However, I believe all of us have the ability to access and retrieve information beyond our traditional five senses. Yes, I do feel like women specifically, because we are characteristically the caregivers, caretakers, the nurturing people within the family dynamics. And so it is not uncommon for women to receive and to hold energy for other people, trying to lessen the burden for other people that they love. They then take on the pain, the emotion, the discomfort for the other people so that it makes it easier. So I think historically, yes, women have and can lean more into their intuition.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody probably does have access to it and can like tap into it, but it's almost like the societal conditioning has allowed some of us to flourish with it and some of us not to. Like my husband, for example, like if I were to talk to him about tapping into his intuition, like it would be much harder for him to actually do that versus like him just using his brain and like logical thinking to make his decisions.
So very true. So very true. But I do think that if you were to say to your husband, hey, listen, honey, I want you to feel with your gut. How does this land in your gut? What do you think about this? What does your body tell you? He might be able to tap into some kind of an awareness, opposed to saying, hey, what's your intuition say? It's just a little bit different for men that way. I feel blessed that I'm married to a man who is very much connected into his intuition and has a tremendous amount of respect for my intuition as well. So I feel blessed in that area.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Do you find that sometimes people, I guess we'll just say, might get like intuitive pings or thoughts or feelings and then potentially just ignore it and not trust that that is something real?
Absolutely. All the time. All the time. I think that's part of our healing journey. I can honestly say there are still moments, even after years of doing this work, I will get an intuitive hit and choose to ignore it. And then hindsight's always 2020, where I'm like, I really wish that I would just lean into trusting my intuition 100% and come from the nonlinear brain and come from the sense of feeling and knowing by basing my decisions off of that. So yeah,
Wow.
that's a big lesson for a lot of people.
Yes, yes. But how are you supposed to know it's your intuition versus like just the ongoing chatter and thoughts that you have in your brain?
Hmm. I think that's a really good question. And so, Brittany, here's my response to you and to the listeners. First and foremost, I think having established some kind of a meditative type practice, whether it's a movement meditation such as yoga or qigong or tai chi, then you learn to decipher what is yours and what is other people's. That's the first thing that I would say. And then when it comes to receiving information, I was trained to, if you receive information and you don't think that it's yours, throw it back into the river, like just disregard it. And then see what happens. If it comes back to you again for the second time, like you get the same message, maybe it's in different words or different images, but you still get the same context, then throw it back into the river one more time. If it comes back to you a third time, I'm not kidding. It is your information to act upon. So that's one way to start training yourself and trusting yourself in identifying what information is for you to utilize based on your intuition.
Mm. Yeah, that's smart. I've never done that. Like I've never received something and then been like, let me test if this is going to come back.
Just release it. Release it. And, yeah, don't get attached to it, and then release it and then see if it comes back to you.
Yeah. Do you find that there might also be emotion attached to thoughts that come through that are intuitive?
Absolutely. I believe that, the brain sends out the electrical signals, and the heart, which is based upon the emotions, is the magnet that drives the whole electromagnetic field that surrounds us. So yes, emotions govern how we respond to information.
Yeah. Because I wonder, I just think back on the intuitive things that have come up for me, and the things that are the most significant have always felt like I feel it in my gut, like physically, like actually, like I feel it where my tummy is. Like I feel this, like, I don't know, energy, warmth, whatever you want to call it. But there's also just like a deeper layer of emotion to it versus a thought that might come in that might just be like something I'm thinking based out of expectations or fear or like something a little bit more superficial.
Yeah, Brittany, I applaud you because that's the first step, right? I believe in identifying where and how you receive information because it's different for all people. I, like you, happen to be incredibly clairsentient. So I feel things within my physical body. Like you say, hey, I feel it in my gut. Like I really feel it in my tummy. Like I know that there's layers to it. And so once you can identify how you receive information, then you can start to train that information, train your awareness. So clairsentience has been with me for the longest. And then psychometry, which is the ability to receive and perceive information via my hands. When I put my hand on people or objects, is the second thing. And that's common for people too. And then the third thing that came online was my clairvoyance and being able to see images or to see phrases or to see snapshots, and then direct knowing, which is just abstract information that gets downloaded into my brain. That was then the last one to develop. And there are so many more forms of or ways to receive information. And it is unique, just like a thumbprint is unique to an individual person. How you receive information is unique to you. So you and I can both agree that we're clairsentient people, right? Because we physically feel it within our body. But if I were to say, hey, Brittany, this is how I feel it in my body, you're going to be like, no, it's a little bit different for me. And so it doesn't make me right or wrong, doesn't make you right or wrong. It makes you unique in how you receive information, and it makes me unique in how I receive information. So, when you're developing your intuition, it serves nobody to compare yourself to another person who may call themselves highly intuitive, because each and every single person is a beautiful spirit residing within their human home, having different life experiences.
Huh. That's so interesting. I don't know, like I've never really thought about myself as somebody who's highly intuitive. But I mean, like, that's just a label, right? Like, it doesn't really actually mean anything, like, for me in my world. But it's interesting. These instances are coming up in my head as you're explaining these things. And I wonder if you've ever had any experiences with yourself or people that you work with where they've had these intuitive pings before something has happened. So, like, and I actually just watched a movie with this the other day. In the movie, the husband was leaving the house and he was driving to work, and the wife was home with her kids. And she said to him, like, hey, don't leave today. Like, don't leave right now. I have a really bad feeling about this morning. I think something bad's going to happen. Like, and she was just explaining this. And the husband is like, no, it's fine. Whatever. I'm just going to work. And then he got into a car accident and died. And I'm curious if there's a way that we can somehow be predictive in nature with our intuition.
Mm-hmm. I love this question. And what you're explaining is real. It's called precognition. Okay. To note something before it actually occurs. So to answer your question more eloquently, I'd like to remind everybody that in this world that we live in, because it is a three-dimensional world, we focus on what we can feel and sense. And so, like, I can feel, I can see the microphone, I can touch it, I can touch my desk, I can touch my computer. Those are tangible things that we can feel and experience. And so what you're saying is that the three-dimensional world is made up of atoms, of particles. And the interesting thing is that science has told us that that the matter is only about 0.111% particle and 99.9% energy. Energy is something that we can't sense or feel or see. So information, just like the movie you were describing, where the woman had a precognition that if her husband got in the car, something bad was going to happen. She received that information from the field, the energetic field surrounding her physical body. And she got that information downloaded and she verbalized, thankfully she said, hey, listen, you're not supposed to leave the house. And unfortunately, her husband chose to go anyway. So the information within the field surrounding our physical body is more in abundance than the matter that we physically see.
Oh, I love that. That's so interesting. Something like that happened to me in January. I woke up. I'm from South Africa. My mom was in South Africa, and I woke up one morning and had this really, really strong feeling that my grandfather was going to die that day. And I told my husband, I was like, I just woke up with this thing. Like, I didn't even know how to really put it into words. Right. And then later in the afternoon, I got this text message from my mom. And before I opened it, I was like, I just had, again, another ping that was like, this is the text message that is going to tell me that my grandfather has died. And I opened it up and it was. Mm-hmm. So the text was right. And he died on the day when I woke up with that feeling. And it was so weird that happened. Like, it wasn't like he was close to me. He's like on the opposite side of the world. And we knew he was sick and all of these things. And I don't know, it was just like such a weird thing to like navigate. And what are you even supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? Like, even like this woman in the movie, like you have this download that you get and then you vocalize it. And that's kind of all you can do if it's out of your control.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So first and foremost, Brittany, I'd like for you to possibly align your thought pattern that perhaps you are more intuitive than what you think. And so that's the first invitation that I'll put out there. And I love the fact that you're receiving this information, this direct knowing. And that's valuable information to act upon. And like we already talked about, it takes a while to develop a relationship with your intuition, to fully lean into it and to fully trust. Because I can't tell you how many times in my younger years I would literally like, oh my goodness, I knew that was going to happen, or I knew that I should have, or I received information and I didn't listen. And so you can only do that so many times before you start to say, you know what? Let me just listen and respond and act accordingly based upon my intuitive hits.
Ever snap at your partner over something small and then wonder, why did that bother me so much? Or maybe you're waking up groggy, craving sugar, breaking out, or feeling just off in your body, like your hormones are whispering or yelling that something is out of balance. If any of this sounds familiar to you, you are not alone. These are signs your body is calling out for support, and magnesium might be the missing piece. Magnesium is one of those non-negotiable minerals, especially for women. It plays a critical role in hormone regulation, stress response, blood sugar balance, sleep, and even skin and muscle function. But here's the problem. Most of us are deficient, especially during high stress seasons. Hello, modern life, motherhood, and go careers. Food alone often isn't enough. So that's why I take Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers every single night. It's the only formula I found that includes all 8 forms of magnesium including magnesium orotate, which specifically supports metabolic and hormonal health. I love it because it helps with deep restorative sleep, stress relief and nervous system regulation, better digestion and fewer cravings, and supports my body through every hormonal phase, from luteal to postpartum. This is your permission slip to slow down and nourish yourself at the cellular level. Go to bioptimizers.com/biohackingbrittany and use code biohackingbrittany for 10% off. Even better, subscribe and you'll never miss a month. Plus, you'll unlock deeper discounts and free gifts as well. Trust me, your body, your mood, and your hormones will thank you. Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think it's like a muscle, right? We just have to like practice, exercise, work it out, and then it'll get stronger and then we can lean on it more.
Absolutely. I love that you're making the analogy that it's an active muscle. I love that.
Mm-hmm. So how does this tie into chakras? Like the alignment of chakras, the balance of chakras, how does that work with intuition?
Sure. So first and foremost, I love this question, but I would like just a few minutes to kind of lay the foundation for what chakras are, what they do, and why we have them, so that we can better understand how that relates to the physical body and how it relates to the intuitive body. And I want to say that there are 3 steps when it comes to the chakra system. And for those of you listening who this may be a kind of a new concept, know that chakras have been around for thousands of years. This is not a new science. It branched off of Vedic sciences. So the yogic tradition has always known that residing within our physical body and surrounding our physical body were the vortexes of energies. And a chakra is basically, in Sanskrit, chakra means wheel. And so it's a wheel that's located within the physical body and the energetic body that corresponds to various different areas of the body. And I'll go over them in just a minute. But the chakras have 3 functions. It's really simple. So the energy centers receive information from your environment. And so what is your environment? It's people, places, things, objects that are surrounding you. So you're going to receive information from outside of you. The energy then comes towards you, towards this energy center. The second job is that the energy center is to receive the information. So then you receive the information and assimilate it, right? So there's a spin to this energy center and you are assimilating this information like, what does this mean? What am I perceiving? How do I respond? And that leads into the third function of the energy center known as the chakras. And that is, how are you going to respond to your environment? How are you going to choose to express yourself? So receive, assimilate, and express are the 3 primary roles of the energy centers. Now, as I was talking earlier, I should, before I go further, I should say that there are 7 major energy centers located within the physical body. So deep within the pelvis, deep below the belly button, you're going to find 2 energy centers. The first energy center is all about your basic needs of survival, safety, and trust. Then the second energy center, which is just right below the belly button, is all about your creation. I mean, obviously that's connected in women, connected into the ovaries, and for men, it's connected into the testes. So what can you create? And I say that knowing that most of your listeners are in the childbearing ages and wanting to reproduce and wanting to be fertile and to conceive. And so this energy center, the second energy center, is very important for conception. The third energy center is located in the upper abdomen below your ribs, and that's all about control, like autonomy, sovereignty, individuality. And 95% of your energy comes from these lower 3 energy centers because it relates most to the physical world, most to the 3D world. And then when you go up into the space of the heart, it's a bridge. It's a bridge between the physical and the energetic. So you have love, gratitude, appreciation, that comes from the space of the heart. And it's a really important energy center. Knowing that love, if you think about the act of going through a delivery, when you're delivering, you're producing a hormone that is called oxytocin. And oxytocin is what gives you that immense joy, that immense love. And so that comes from the heart center. And then you have 5, 6, and 7, which are located in the neck and in the forehead and the top of the head. And so then we start to get into the realms of the energetics about how we express ourselves into the world, what kind of limiting belief systems we might have, and our ability to connect into something that is outside of us and much greater than us. And so that's energy centers 5, 6, and 7. Now, what I think is really fascinating, and this is an important part that I want the listeners and to you to understand, is that each of these energy centers has an endocrine organ associated with it. And I know with your background in nutrition and in your desire to move forward more into functional medicine, that the hormones are what regulate the body.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can create balance and homeostasis within the energy centers known as the chakras, then we can create a hormonal balance within the physical body.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Also, like, just a great description of the chakras. Like, I've known about them and understand them, but even just understanding like the bottom 3 are more physical, and then moving up into, something that's past the 3D with the bridge is like very easy for people to visualize and understand. Um, I'm curious, like, and I remember reading a book about this a long time ago, but if I remember, there are certain health issues and diseases that are associated with each chakra. So like you're saying, the one with the throat, like if you have trouble speaking, and voicing yourself and having a voice in this world, it could be related to your thyroid, and then people show up with thyroid issues. I'm curious if you've seen patterns like that in your practice.
Absolutely every day, and will continue to do so from here until eternity. It is each energy center, as I said, is associated with an endocrine system. But what's connected to that endocrine gland is a nerve plexus. It's a highway of nerves that travel through the physical body. So it's almost predictable when I start to see distortions within the energy field. I can see what physical disturbances are happening within the physical body. So yes, you are indeed correct. If you have something, if you have dysfunction, dysregularity, discordance within the 5th energy center, which is located in the center of the throat or the center of the neck, indeed you will see eventually, if you don't already currently have it, is imbalances within the thyroid, whether it be overactive or underactive. And so when I talk about body regions that are associated with that energy center, specifically for the neck, I can bring my awareness to the ears, to the mouth, to the teeth, to the neck, to the nerves that exit out of the neck that control the shoulders, elbows, arms, wrist, and hand. So it is so beautifully connected on so many levels. I hope that this is exciting. I hope the listeners are excited as excited as this as I am, because it's the human body. I've been working with it for over 30 years, and it never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. And also it's very eye-opening or humbling. Because I remember when I first learned about this, when I was dealing with different health issues, whenever that was, 5 years ago, whenever I was learning about this, I remember reading about the chakras, and, I had irregular menstrual cycles and like cysts on my ovaries. And then it was explaining like some of the things that could be associated with that chakra being misaligned or imbalanced. And it was so accurate. And I remember like almost not wanting to hear it, to be honest, kind of in denial of like, what it might actually mean for me as a person, as a woman in my life, and like how I'm showing up in life. And it's very interesting when you actually go from this perspective of like, this is the health issue that you're dealing with. Okay, but what does the energetics and the chakra say about that? And like, let's work in that space. Is for me, it was very eye-opening when I did that work.
Yeah,
I'm
it
sure.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important word that you said or used was humbling. Because once you can really lean into the truth of the information that you're receiving, then the challenge then becomes, oh, wow, okay, there's a certain amount of accountability. I need to change in order to have this healing occur. And change is the hardest darn thing. It's just so hard to do, but that's the most important part of the whole healing transformation.
Absolutely. I want to actually ask you about a friend of mine. This is just coming up, so we'll just go with it. So she had surgery last year, and I'm forgetting what is called. The weight loss surgery that you can do, that you can apply for, and the government pays for it. Not liposuction. Oh wow, what's it called?
Like a
Anyway,
gastric bypass?
yes, yes. So she lost like whatever, 180 pounds, like a lot of weight. And she applied. She went through the program. She did this whole thing, and I've known her for a very long time, like 10 years. And what was so interesting is I moved and then I went back and went to a concert with her, and I've seen her a couple times after the surgery, and her entire energy is different. Her entire frequency, again, I don't know the words that you know, like I think you can speak to it better. And I was explaining it to my husband who also saw her, and he was like, yeah, he's like, she was just different and off. And it was like her color changed, or her, like, it was so weird. And I was like, she was happier. She told me she was happier. She liked wearing smaller sizes, and she was like, obviously there's a lot of issues there, but she liked showing up in the world as like smaller, and because she was so overweight and obese and like had struggled for so long with it. But then when I saw her, she wasn't the woman that I knew. Like, her whole personality was different. And so my question is it possible to go through such a drastic surgery like that? And would it change like your energy as well, like your frequency that you put out in the world, almost like it like took out even some of her energy when it was removing all of her fat, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. So, I love this example. Do you mind if I kind of expand upon it?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's unfortunate that various different life traumas can affect the energy systems, right? And so we've already mentioned that 95% of the energy gets focused in the first, second, and third. It's possible that she lacked safety in her foundation and in her environment, or maybe there was some kind of abuse, whether it be physical, emotional, or sexual. Maybe there was a person who always wanted her to be, to maintain being quiet and didn't want her to express her energy. So all of these life traumas will deplete your life force energy, your ability to express yourself to the fullest in your environment. So she went through surgically, did whatever she needed to do with the gastric bypass. Her body changed, and as a result, her energy came back online. So if she has been living in a state of trauma, her life force energy goes down. If she then starts to reclaim her energy, then her life force and her vitality goes up. When her life force and her vitality go up, she shifts her reality. She shifts her energy. She shifts how she's expressing herself. And so it doesn't surprise me that you can say she was a whole new person. Not only because she was a smaller individual, but because she reclaimed pieces and parts of herself that were perhaps lost or abused in the past. She became more of herself. She became a better regulated version of herself.
So interesting, because like before the surgery, she was very loud, had like this very loud cackle, and like would fill a room, and like very bubbly, and like had a big personality. And then after the surgery, it was kind of like she was like dulled and she wasn't as fun to be around. Um, so I don't know, like I get what you're saying, like maybe it liberated her, but then I also don't know if I've like seen that full liberation yet. And to your point, I do know some of the things that happened in her childhood, and she was, sexually assaulted in different ways, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah. And there's time. Okay. Now, in my world, if somebody, the healing comes deeply rooted from within yourself. So if you have a surgery for a quick fix, and again, I'm not passing judgment on her decision to have that surgery, but there's another layer of healing that can help support the loss that she wanted to achieve with the surgery. And so just because she had the surgery doesn't mean that all the trauma has been processed. It could have been, shifted within the energetics. And when you say, hey, I felt like she was less of herself because she wasn't as exuberant or as boisterous or as loud, then she may be still in that healing journey of the reclamation process.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that speaks to it. That seems accurate. Would something similar be happening with women who get a hysterectomy and decide to, like my mom had one, decide to fully just get rid or take out that part of themselves? Is there a way to rebalance that chakra after doing something like that?
Yeah, you're touching upon a chakra system that is very, very, very commonly distorted within women. So let me talk about the second energy center. As I alluded to earlier, it's located just below the belly button. It's connected into our reproductive organ. Okay, so the ovaries for women and testes for men. And this is the area, the energy center in which your clairsentience comes online. Now, we've already been talking about clairsentience, and that is the ability to receive and perceive information from your environment. Women are exceptionally empathetic. So if you and I were to sit down over lunch, knee to knee, and you started sharing with me maybe some experiences that you have undergone, maybe you're having a postpartum depression and you're really struggling and you're sharing all of your hardships with me. My guess is, being the sensitive person that I am, I would want to say, hey, Brittany, you're a really good friend of mine. And so energetically, I would start to carry some of your hardship. I would absorb it as if it's my own. Okay. So that's the downplay or the downside of being incredibly sensitive or incredibly empathetic or incredibly clairsentient, is that you want to absorb everybody else's energy so that everybody else feels better. You're a people-pleasing kind of gal. And so that goes directly into the second energy center. Then it becomes really super confusing. Like, oh my goodness, I don't feel well. Like I feel a little depressed. I feel a little off. And then you're like, this is so uncharacteristic of me, but it happened right after I had lunch with Brittany and she was talking about her depression. And so then I have to go through the whole process of saying, is this my energy or is this Brittany's energy? And so we carry, because we're wired as women, we're wired to take on other people's energies. We carry that energy within the space of our second energy center. And so if we do that long enough, and we do it as moms, I mean, that's just natural, right? When you have children, that you want to do everything for them, or for your husband who may, be codependent or dependent on you. So you start doing it, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your grandparents. I mean, you're trying to play the role for all people. And then all of a sudden you start to get discordances within that energy center. So maybe you start to get uterine fibroids. Maybe you start to get really, really heavy menstrual cycles, or you have some really incredible PMS or irregular periods, things of that nature. Anything related to the reproductive organ would show or demonstrate to us that energy center is off. So fast forward, let's say you don't put any healing into this journey And maybe, by the time that you're 50, you know that you're perimenopausal and somebody says, hey, you're done reproducing. So why don't we just take the uterus out of you and have a hysterectomy? That doesn't necessarily serve, in my humble opinion, doesn't necessarily serve the female in her healing journey. If she had the opportunity to reclaim some of her power back and to release some of that stagnant energy, which no longer serves her in present time, she might have been able to avoid the hysterectomy or to balance out her hormones perimenopausal, and instead of being reactive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a time and place for surgery, but can be sad when it's, used in a way, to just kind of get rid of the problem, especially by the medical system. And I think you can energetically heal and work through the chakras, regardless if there's surgery there or not. But there just has to be that awareness of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then my question would be, if like that was me, would be like, okay, how am I going to connect to my feminine side now that I don't have a uterus anymore? Like, and I'm postmenopausal. So my hormones are completely different. I'm not having a cycle anymore. The hormone picture looks much more like men at that point in life. And so, that would probably be what I would explore. But, I guess it really just comes down to like working with an expert to kind of like heal it on an energetic level.
Mm-hmm. So, Brittany, because we're having this conversation, I'll share with you in the audience, I'm postmenopausal. I'll be 56 here and in a couple of days, actually. So I can honestly share with you and the listener that I feel more balanced in a feminine way than I ever have in my entire life.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I wish that for all women. It's incredibly empowering. It doesn't matter where you are in the life cycle. If you're in your young 20s looking to conceive, or if you've had multiple children, or if you are perimenopausal or menopausal, postmenopausal, wherever you are within that state, I think is an opportunity for healing and a full expression of self. And if you want to step into the essence of your full feminine power, then there's no time like the present time to do that.
I love that. My last question for you is, I just remembered this as you were speaking. I'm curious if you know or have experience with kids being intuitive or even chakra alignment and what that might mean. When I got pregnant, I knew I was pregnant before I took the tests. And there were weird things that happened those few days before I took the test. Like, I remember walking down the street and I was holding this glass water bottle and I had this, yeah, you're making me making me think actually I'm quite intuitive. Anyway, walking down the glass water bottle and I had this weird feeling. I was like, I think my glass water bottle is about to fall off the top and I think it's about to break. And then it happened, 30 seconds later and it broke. And there were these weird things that anyway, I just remember thinking like, oh, I think I'm pregnant. Like I just was having all of these weird little things happen. And then I was pregnant. With children and babies and kids, what does intuition look like? Is it stronger than in adults because there's less societal conditioning?
This is a great question, and you would save this to the very last one. So, I believe that as children, when we have less conditioning and in less filtering, that we are highly intuitive beings. So I know that from my own personal experience, being born hearing impaired. I went undiagnosed until the age of 3, and I can honestly tell you that I lived in the spiritual realm, that really thin veil between the physical and the spiritual, and that's where I lived. And so it was a blissed out place to live in. So I know that kids that are experiencing physical challenges or disabilities or autism, or I know that they have access to greater levels of information than what they can than what they can share with us. And so my hope is that, as the next generations are being developed, know that the intuition is coming online. The amount of information that the generations behind us are receiving at any given time is powerful processing speed. It's beautiful to witness.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard of the telepathy tapes, the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. I find it so interesting that like kids can, connect to their mothers or parents or whoever, telepathically. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a lot of moms feel like that. I feel like that with my kids. So, yeah, there is definitely something there of like, we just teach people, let's communicate in these ways. And that's the only way that we can communicate. And sorry, like we're not, again, it's a muscle. We're no longer going to use this. And now you're going to forget about it.
Right, right. Like I can remember receiving intuitive information when I was in my young adolescence. I was in high school and I went home and I told my mom what information I had received, and it happened to be about a boy in my high school. And my mom looked at me and she's like, "Okay, there's no way that you could know this information." She was really she was very Catholic and very adamant about that that's just not possible in this physical world that you would receive this information. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm right. I just found out that I'm right. And I'm telling you that that's how it happened. And so she tried to squash that. She tried to keep a cap on it because it didn't fit within her paradigm. And so for all the young mothers that are out there listening, when your child is expressing off the wall information with you, take the time to sit down and listen, because chances are there's reality and validity to it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Do you think even when a baby is inside mom, like when mom's pregnant, can she connect with the baby?
Absolutely. Because the baby is part of her. There is no separation.
Yeah.
There's all there is a single point of singularity. There's oneness. It's one organism, one organ. So yes, absolutely, there is communication on so many levels.
Yeah. 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 I did a ton of meditation, especially during my third trimester, just trying to connect and listen and tap into that as much as I could. And it was beautiful. It was very emotional and it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, go for it.
all I was going to say is, as you're meditating, if you're pregnant, know that you're upregulating your genes for yourself and your baby. It's about the best thing that you can do.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And there's honestly so many apps and like YouTube and things. There's so many resources now for that type of like meditation. It really helped me because I was very new to meditation when I got pregnant, and it kind of like got me to actually understand how to do it.
Good for you. I love that.
Yeah. So one final word. What do you want every woman listening to remember?
It's not a single word. If I were to give you a word, it would be empowerment.
Ooh.
But the message is, reclaiming your own energy will empower you to become full of yourself and express your own essence, which is all that we want for all the beautiful people in this world.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. If people want to connect with you and work with you and reach out, where can they do that and how can they find you?
Yes, I appreciate you asking that. And my website, as far as the landing page, which is www.drmarysanders.com, my website is a living, breathing organism. It tells you about everything that's happening within my world. And so there's an opportunity to connect free of charge. If you're just curious and you're like, hey, I kind of like what this lady is saying, but I need to connect with her more, then just schedule a discovery call and it'd be my honor to connect with you.
Oh, I love that. I will put that in the show notes and on my website so everyone can find you easily. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so cool. And I just learned a lot from you. And I know my listeners will as well.
Thank you, Brittany. My honor.